I'm getting really sick of having to do videos like this, Star Trek. Do better, queer rep! Hello, geeks, freaks, and all those unique. This is MC Frodus. I've talked before on several occasions on the portrayal of LGBTQ plus characters in Star Trek, and unsurprisingly, with the end of another season, I have another complaint I need to address. Just as a warning, there will be massive spoilers for Star Trek Picard Season 3 in this, so do not watch this video if you have not seen the finale. Star Trek Picard gave us the first recurring woman-loving woman relationship in Seven of Nine and Raffi Musiker. This started as a brief flirtation at the end of Season 1. We then spend the entirety of Season 2 with them on the outs for a pretty nebulous reason. They are then reunited, finally allowing them to kiss in the finale. And by Season 3, it seems like they're again broken up because Raffi makes a comment about how her girlfriend left her. But at first you think this might be part of her cover story. But when she and Seven are finally reunited, they are awkward around each other, and Worf makes a comment about working with exes. But unlike Season 2, we don't get them coming back together at the end. We do see them working together on the bridge of the Enterprise G as captain and first officer. This has led to a lot of questions as to whether or not it's okay for them to be a couple. I was all prepared to write a video about how interpersonal relationships work in Starfleet when Terry Metalis did an Ask Me Anything on Reddit and gave a response to this question. I think Starfleet regulations have a lot to say about them being officially together, which is why we had them apart to begin with. We knew we were ending here, and that would be a big conflict of interest on the bridge. Are they together in secret? Will this absolutely be a story you want to tell in the future? A story about a captain who loves her first officer and vice versa? Absolutely. Kirk literally stole the Enterprise to save Spock's life. It cost him his son. The best Treks are stories about love and family. Imagine a story in which Seven had to make a call that would cost Raffi her life on a planet below. But it's a call that would save the lives of countless others. Does Seven make the call? Does she step down and go try to save Raffi and transfer command to Jack in the meantime? The whole episode becomes a countdown. I kind of want to write that one right now. What in the gay hell? I'm going to address this portion of the video to Terry Metalis himself. I mean, he probably won't see it, but it's worth a shot. Hey, Terry. I hope it's okay that I call you Terry. First of all, good season of Picard. Made up for a lot of stuff in the previous seasons. But you've made so many decisions this season that are for a show that hasn't been greenlit yet. And hey, respect. You really want this, and you're putting in the building blocks for the future. But this decision to repeat the same plot points that were done with Seven and Raffi in Season 2 is absolutely infuriating. It is repeating points we've already seen, and frankly, we didn't like all that much in the first place. It's also to set up future angst for these characters, and there are so many reasons why this is not a good idea. I'm going to leave the biggest social reasons to the end, but just on a continuity level, there has never, ever been an issue with Starfleet officers dating each other. We've had Worf and Dax, Riker and Troy, Worf and Troy, Torres and Paris, Culber and Stamets, and of course my absolute bays, Spock and Uhura in the Kelvinverse. And I know what you're thinking. MC, you obviously know scads about Star Trek, but none of these were captain and a subordinate. But Robert April served as captain of the Enterprise, with his wife Sarah as CMO. And I think there might have been another one. Who was that? Oh yeah, this very season of Picard, in which you yourself, Terry, wrote, establishes that Picard and Crusher were in an on-and-off relationship throughout the time of the TNG movies. This topic has been previously addressed within Star Trek. It is stated outright in the episode Lessons from the mouth of Picard himself.
I want to talk to you about a matter of protocol. I know there are no Starfleet regulations about a captain becoming involved with a fellow officer.
It's not a rule in Starfleet. Yes, most captains don't engage in relationships with their subordinates, but that has less to do with regulations than it does the mentality of most captains that they have to be the chair in the eyes of their crew. The second problem I have with this is something that's very general. For relationships, queer or straight, I am so absolutely exhausted by the idea that for a relationship to be interesting, it has to be full of angst. These people are exploring space. You can have them do all sorts of heroic, exciting things and have them come home to a comfortable relationship, and I promise you, no one will be bored by it. I've experienced this unhappy relationships thing makes things interesting in other franchises, to the point where I call it Joss Whedon relationship syndrome. It honestly gets tiresome when we know a couple is just going to do nothing but suffer strife. We need to mix it up. But here's the real issue. This is the big issue. Terry, you are not the only one responsible for this, but you are the latest in the line, so that's why this has been directed your way. Star Trek has a problem with queer women. At this point, it is absolutely undeniable. I know my viewers are listing the queer women who have graced us with their presence in Trek, but just being there is a bar so low you could trip over it. I want you to think about the queer women in Trek. Really think about them. Do you want to know what all of them have in common, aside from their sapphic leanings? Yeah, none of them are allowed to love a woman for more than an episode. Now, I've covered this topic before in the video where I expressed my hesitation about Chapel's bisexuality, which I suggest you check out if you want my feelings on that particular queer lady's portrayal. But I am going to throw it to past MC for this particular point, because I said everything there. When it comes to queer relationships, Star Trek has not been great about portraying women in long-term relationships. Cis males Sulu and Ben, as well as Stamets and Culber, are portrayed as being married. The non-binary Adira and trans men Gray are also in a long-term relationship. Yet when it comes to women who love women, Jet is still mourning the loss of her wife. Mariner is portrayed as having possible flirtations, but nothing has been said on screen as an actual romance. Seven and Raffi flirt at the end of Season 1 of Picard, but spend the majority of Season 2 broken up, before they finally get back together in the final episode. Again, while a variety of relationships should be shown, it feels like Star Trek is hitting the same beats of not allowing women to love women freely and without angst. So, a relationship I didn't mention in this was that of Jadzia Dax and Lanara Khan, which fits this complaint to a T. They are two women who are in love, but are not allowed to be with one another. Yeah, it's for sci-fi bullshit reasons, but it was an analogy for the angst of being a queer woman. In Terry Matalas's AMA, his proposed storyline for Seven and Raffi is this all over again. There has never been a problem with a captain and one of their subordinates being in a relationship before, and it's going to be one now. Yet again, queer women are not allowed to be happy in fully formed public relationships without fear of reprisal. And you know what? You fooled me once, Star Trek. Past MC was actually sanguine about the chances of representation getting better. Now, I think Star Trek will get better about their women loving women. The official Star Trek Twitter has hinted that Mariner and Jennifer will be portrayed in some sort of relationship in Season 3 of Lower Decks. As Seven and Raffi reconciled at the end of Season 2 of Picard, presumably they'll be together in Season 3, but I have doubts about how much they'll actually be used given the presence of the whole Next Generation cast. Yeah. If I wasn't gothed out right now, I'd be putting on clown makeup. You made me believe for a second I might get some proper women-loving women. But as it is, in Lower Decks, we get to see Jennifer and Mariner in a healthy, loving relationship for exactly one episode. Here, all trust nothing. After that, they break up due to Jennifer believing Mariner has sold out the crew to a reporter, and it's made very clear they're not getting back together. And not only are Seven and Raffi not portrayed as together in Picard Season 3, Terry, you've made it very clear you want to keep the angst quotient as high as possible when it comes to them. It is not enough to have a queer character in a piece, so you can point to them and say, look, we got a gay. That's the serialized television equivalent of saying you have a gay friend, so you totally get it. By not allowing these queer women to have healthy and happy relationships, you're telling the audience that queer women aren't allowed to have healthy and happy relationships. It's not enough that we should be allowed to exist in this utopic future. We should be able to thrive. I'm not saying that these relationships have to be perfect, skipping through the euphoria causing flowers on Omicron Ceti 3. There can be conflict. But let's look at one of the other relationships that was portrayed in Picard Season 3. Riker and Troy were having difficulties within their marriage caused by the grief from the death of their son. But there is never a moment within this conflict that you doubt that these two love each other with all of their hearts. That's why they're having the problem, because they love each other. They are able to work through this issue and come out stronger on the other side. They are also shown to be very physically and verbally affectionate with one another, just being allowed to exist within the space. Hell, their love for one another actually saves everybody in the end. I'm speaking to Star Trek in general now, to every showrunner who is currently working on Trek. You guys have to be better about this. You are hitting the same note over and over again when it comes to your queer female characters. They are doomed to a life unable to live as their authentic selves. Anytime they come close to happiness with another woman, it ends in tragedy. This is not the message you want to be sending to the multitudes of queer women who are dedicated to this franchise. You can't just point to Hugh Culber and Paul Stamets and say, look, we've got a healthy queer relationship, because queer people are not a monolith. We're a complex spectrum of people, and so far you've been telling us that if you're a woman, you're shit out of luck when it comes to being happy with another woman. You've taken us to the stars. Please let us appreciate them with someone else. So Strange New Worlds is starting in 7 weeks. I'm guessing 2.5 months before I have another video about queer rep in Star Trek. Comment down below with your thoughts on Terry Matalas' comments on Seven and Raffi and queer women in Star Trek in general. If you like my videos, subscribe to my channel. I do videos about Buffy, Doctor Who, Marvel, Star Trek, Star Wars, and lots of other geeky things. Be sure to check out the daily short series, The Headcanon Minute. Also, if you like my Star Trek content, please check me out on Strange New Pod. We go live Thursdays at 9:30 Eastern. If you want to support me, please visit my Patreon. You can also buy me a coffee, or you can go to my Redbubble and TeePublic to buy my geeky graphic designs, including all of the Trek Pride shirts. You can find me on all of those platforms, as well as most social media, as MC Frodos. So until next time, live long, and may the Force be with you.